Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Sam, Sean, and the rest of the participants. Really pleased to be with you. I'm the founder and CEO of Grant Engine, and thank you to Dean and the team at Plug and Play for helping to coordinate um, this webinar. I think we've got a really good lineup of content as well as a demo, and we're going to move pretty swiftly through the content and really leave time for questions at the end. Um, and Dean, I really want to welcome you and thank you and the entire Plug and Play team and organization for coordinating on this first one, and would be delighted if you could give everyone an overview of your background and that of Plug and Play, and we can go from there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam and team, for the opportunity to be able to present to uh, this crowd. Looking forward to future collaborations with the Grant Engine organization. So, we are Plug and Play. We are the ultimate innovation platform globally. We really have three core pillars. First of which is a venture capital arm. So we have different vertical specific funds that we deploy capital out of, as well as a Evergreen Family Office that was established in 2006. We're headquartered in San Jose, California, but have offices globally in 27 countries and 60 cities. We invest across all different industry verticals. We do around 200 investments per year in the pre-seed, seed, and Series A stages. We also have a corporate innovation practice where we work with Fortune 500 companies to scout startups that they want to work with. They'll give us different technology focus areas that they're interested in. We'll go out to our database of 100,000 startups, meet with those startups, screen them, understand their technologies and the use cases that they apply for, and play matchmaker and facilitate those introductions to the corporate business units who end up vetting them a bit further and establishing vendor relationships where they get them onboarded and do a pilot project that hopefully can be scaled up to a long-term commercial agreement. Our third vertical is a startup accelerator programs, which are typically 3-month programs. They're typically thematic, specific to different industry verticals that you see there on the bottom. We run 26 different industry verticals, most of which are run out of our Silicon Valley headquarters, and then each one of our satellite offices also has vertical specific programs. Those typically entail a lot of workshop sessions, mentor matching, different reverse pitches with our corporate partners where they, you know, advise folks on their innovation practices, how their teams are structured, how they typically do the intake process with startups, and the technology areas that they're most focused on. As you'll see there, those are just some of the corporate partners that we work with across all of our different industry verticals. Um, and here's just a snapshot of all of our offices globally. As I mentioned, 60 cities, 27 countries, over 500 corporate partners, over 100,000 startups in our database, and we have 800 employees globally. Here in Arizona, we're focused on advanced manufacturing, which is primarily focused on aerospace and defense. We work with Honeywell Aerospace and Raytheon, and semiconductors, where we work with Intel and NXP, and SEMI, which is the trade association for semiconductors. We also have a sustainability practice here in Arizona where we work with Honeywell Aerospace, EPCOR Water Services, and the NSF-funded Futures Engine in the Southwest that's headed up by ASU and a consortium of other universities and corporate partners in Arizona, Utah, and Nevada. That's just kind of a snapshot of our programs and our different verticals. We're always looking to engage with new startups. So if you're a startup that hasn't engaged with anyone from Plug and Play before, I encourage you to reach out to us through the Grant Engine team, and happy to put you in touch with the right subject matter experts on our team for potential investment or getting you involved in our completely free, equity-free, no fees associated with our accelerator programs to see how we can get you connected into our ecosystem and finds opportunities for you to help you scale your technologies in your business. That's all for our presentation. Looking forward to the rest of the webinar with Grant Engine. Back to you, Sam.
Great. Thank you, Dean. Yeah, amazing. Really broad and deep capabilities and track record. We traditionally, Grant Engine has focused on the life sciences, and we are also entering into some strategic partnerships that make defense and aerospace equally as potent. So we had lots of reasons to talk with you and your team at Plug and Play, but those reasons just got broader. So I think the start of a great relationship and partnership. So we're excited about working together. Thank you very much again for hosting. We on the call today, I'm really pleased to have joining me Dr. Brian Bender, who is a lead writer with us, and he's one of a key member of the team. He helped coordinate and plan this webinar. So a big shout out to you, Brian. He's a key member of the team, and we've got a really deep and excellent team across the board, which we'll touch on in a moment. Also joining me on the webinar is Andrea Bose, who will do a quick demo of our AI writing tool, which is pretty exciting and leading edge. And then on the call as well, there's a number of Grant Engine employees, including Joel, who's a product funding executive, Susmita, who is a program manager with us out of Minnesota. So really pleased to have you here. And we're really going to focus on what's going on in the government, do a quick snapshot of history, but more importantly, the outlook, particularly relevant with a government shutdown looming, and how do we deal with that? What do we do about it? And what do we do about it now and in the future? We're going to touch on how to write to win, and where and why you can use AI and where you should steer clear, given the level of the tech today. Touch on long-term funding strategies, and we'll probably just hit highlights of Grant Engine as well. So, so you know just who is presenting to you, who's talking to you. Grant Engine started, we're in our 10th year, and we really are here to save lives and extend the length of a quality life. That is our prevailing mission. And we really seek to do that by getting funding for our companies and use that R&D dollar to invest into differentiated products that improve outcomes for patients and our citizens. We have over 77 people, actually call it over 75 people. We have 77. And we have a number of elements that converge on a key takeaway, the biggest of which is our team, but converge on a key conclusion of our company, which is a win rate that's 2x to 4x better than the national average. The elements that make that unique and special and durable for our clients include certainly the team is number one, but also a subject matter expert call that we do before we ever contract with you that's free and complimentary. We have expert reviewers that complement our excellent lead writers and program managers that deploy on each project. And that external reviewers sit on study section, their conflicts cleared. And then we also have a program we do every 6 months where we do an intensive primary research on what is winning and what is working in the grant world, what is killing grants. And then we train our team on those things. And that allows us to stay current and stay sharp for our clients and with our clients. So that's a little bit about who we are and what makes us unique. You're familiar with grant writing. There are many benefits besides the money, which has the best ROI, validation that helps equity raises, as well as strategic partnerships. And writing a grant helps your product be successful end of day, especially vis-a-vis the approach section. So those are some of the highly advantageous elements of getting grants and contracts. So let's talk about what's going on with your tax dollars at work, and how do you react to this changing landscape? And this slide starts with a look backward to 2024, and you can see 2024 is the latest figures of a long run trend of approval rates at the NIH SBIR program, which is one of many programs we pursue, but they're great at showing a lot of data. So it's very useful to provide insights into, I think, a general view of what's happening in almost all federal funding in this country. You can clearly see it's getting more competitive. And if you look and double click into 2024, the most competitive in terms of approval rates that has ever occurred. And that's really driven by higher demand more submissions for the same supply of dollars. In talking with people that know and are reliable sources of information, that higher number in 2024, which is almost as high as the highest it's ever been, which was during COVID when no one was in the lab, is really driven by AI. And not coincidentally, that volume that makes it easier to put words on a page by virtue of AI has driven the win rates, the approval rates to be the lowest they've ever been. And you see in this 2024 a higher mix of phase twos versus phase ones. So that's one of the lessons here, is that AI is good at writing words, but it's not very good at winning grants. That's where you need expertise on your team and those around you. So that's 2024, and that lesson we'll come back to in a moment. And you can see volume was up, approval rates down, and a mismatch. Higher number of phase twos, which are much more money than phase ones, is what explains that difference. And then some quick snapshots of the first 100 days of this administration. We're in month, I guess since the inauguration, technically month 8. But these trends have continued. So the total spend from the government has been higher. It was about 11% higher than ever before, despite DOGE and USAID getting completely mothballed. So total dollars out of this government is up. But healthcare in particular is down. And the difference for the NIH, which is the single largest source of healthcare funding in this country, is not small. For the SBIR program, it has caught up, and I'll have a slide on that in a couple of moments. But the turbulence, the chaos, and the challenges of over $2 billion at this point has being terminated. Most of that's academic grants. Single-digit SBIRs were canceled. Significant decrease in funding has yielded a very chaotic environment for academia. A lot of that is still in litigation. And there is a lesson for companies in there, in that the volume of submissions, the dollar amount has come down of what is being expended, but the number of people that are going after that money has been reduced much more than the budget reductions. And what that means is that the supply and demand equation is the best it's ever been for companies going after NIH SBIRs. That is certainly true where budgets are up at Department of Homeland Security and the DoD. But it's even more true at the NIH. And this is because this fear and chaos has driven people away from going after the SBIR programs. Also, not coincidentally, our win rates at Grant Engine were higher than they've ever been in 2024. And we've attributed that to quality matters and our persistent differentiators. As well, the number of notice of awards that have been coming Grant Engine's way in fiscal 2025 is also higher, because its budgets have been approved at the 2024 level, and it is easier to get a grant now than it's ever been. The themes of ongoing commercialization and translation in a real world setting of your product has been making its way slowly and surely into the study sections of more reviewers are trained on evaluating the actual real world commercial potential of your project. More clinicians on study section. So it matters about getting product in the market. This slide speaks to where we are government year, which ends in 5 days, of 2024 compared to 2025 in blue or dark blue. So this is as of September 12th, the latest data available. And you can see we were running very much in line up until late January. And then a spread started to happen, a little bit of catch up in April, and then a pretty good spread. And the other half of this slide speaks to the delta between 24 and 25. And what is interesting is that this is coming down. And I think this is the month in the bars going left to right, and the $1 million of difference in expenditures to the SBIR program in 2024 versus 2025. So this is more money spent in 2024 versus 2025. And you can see this gap closing over the last 3 months. And there is a lot of grants that come in September. In a normal year, over 1/3 of the entire year gets delivered in the month of September. So I think we're going to see this gap close quite a bit in the last 18 days of the month as that data plays out. So that's this year, which is by and large already happened. What do we think about 2026? And I want to just come back to a key point here, which was we're enjoying the best volume of win rates that we've ever had at Grand Engine. And that's because we have stayed the course. We've encouraged our clients to continue to submit. We believe it's going to get more competitive, but we clearly have an advantaged position because the supply and demand equation is in your favor. And that, I think, is going to continue as we think about 2026. So the dynamic coming here in 2026 that'll start on October 1st is that the Big Beautiful Bill has passed, and that calls for a 40% reduction in the NIH budget in particular. DoD went up, DHS went up, CDMRP has continued to be down almost 60%. And the way these appropriations work is that the bill gets passed, then the appropriations committees decide on how much the agency should spend, and then the agencies spend that money in a kind of 3-part fashion. We're in the zone right now where those appropriations committees are meeting and deciding how much of that money actually that's in law gets appropriated. And there's obviously a lot of ins and outs and peculiarities about how money flows in this US government. But what's really compelling is that there appears to be clear support at the House and the Senate, on the Republican side and the Democrat side, for the NIH. And certainly other agencies are getting a lot of play as well. And so I think this dynamic of the lower bill, which is essentially here, is that the Appropriations Committee is saying that, we've got your NIH, we've got your back. We want to support you at a 1% higher level in 2024 compared to last year. That's fiscal 2026 compared to 2024. And fiscal 25 was a continuing resolution. So I think the short story here is that this has yet to play out. And we'll talk about what's happened, I think, in the last 24 hours that is really relevant as it relates to a government shutdown and the small business program renewing at the government. I think one theme that you will say that you'll hear, the second real theme that you will hear from us is that we do expect pay lines to get tighter. I think you've seen that long run approval rate get tougher. I think that's the dynamic. It goes in and out, but over 5-year, 10-year time periods, you need to get more fit, be more competitive in your quality of your submissions and in the volume of submissions that you make. So that's another theme. I think that second theme is very relevant, but I think the first theme is that because so many people are scared and afraid, they're not participating. And this is a quick snapshot of what's shaping up in the US government for fiscal 2026. And I think despite what is going on in current events in this country that have happened, in the last 2 weeks, which are tragic, there's a lot of other dynamics going on here around the Epstein files. Files have continued to erode Trump's position and authority. That's, I think, not going away. There are near-term other priorities the country's thinking about right now, but that's out there. And that does erode some administrative power to some degree, and that can reduce some stranglehold or some control over Congress that exists. There's also this hardliner on both the Democrat and the Republican side versus pragmatists in Congress about how to handle a continuing resolution. And there are Medicare subsidies that Chuck Schumer, the leading Democrat in the Senate, is having a position on. And this webinar that I gave last week is a very different outlook given what has transpired in the last 24 hours. And late yesterday, there was a meeting canceled. Politico is reporting that the White House canceled a meeting with Chuck Schumer that was scheduled for this morning to talk about coming together on a continuing resolution for funding the US federal government in total after September 30th. That meeting did not happen this morning, and there is a fair amount of brinksmanship going on, and that rhetoric is ratcheting up even higher if that's possible. And I think net, the likelihood that we're actually going to see a government shutdown, and I told our team, on Monday that I think the most likely outcome was going to be a continuing resolution that gets passed until around Thanksgiving. I think that's very low, much lower likelihood, and not the most likely outcome here. I think the most likely outcome is that there is a shutdown of some time, and that temperature and political pain that Congress and the White House will experience will, over time, force both parties to the negotiating table to work out a continuing resolution. So I would say, if I had to bet right now, we're not wagering. These are important topics. It's looking pretty likely there's going to be a shutdown, given that we're 5 days out, and key meetings are just not happening that need to happen. So that's in the mix. As well, the SBIR program is up for renewal every 3 years. And it was authorized in 22, now authorized here in 2025. So the current, there's a bill circulating right now that would extend that SBIR program for 1 more year to give room and time for what's talked about in Project 2025, and has a bill circulating which would increase that SBIR program from under 4% to 8%. And if that happens, that doubling, more than doubling, would offset any reduction, the expected reduction, if there is one, at the NIH budget and any other federal agency budget. So I think this is not a certainty by any means, and continued advocacy from the way this country works, which is a democratic republic, whereby you get your voice heard. So there's a link there to click and write your congressman. Dan, I think we're okay without the, we'll do the third poll when that comes up, but let's not worry about the first two. So click on that link. It'll tell you how to get in touch with your Congress representatives, and you can have, as a starting place, a personal message that we've drafted. Certainly make it your own. But I think this opportunity is called for as an increase in Project 2025. Democrats certainly are supportive of it. Republicans are too. This could be a real thing when and if the government starts functioning somewhat normally. So that, I think, is the outlook. I think we're going to have a functioning government, if you can say it like that. And I think the SBIR program is going to continue. Um, it's going to be some more bumps in the road, but the theme is to continue to stay the course. Let's turn attention to AI and touch on a couple of key points. And those really are AI, as mentioned, AI is very good at putting words on a page. And our product, in particular called Streamline Alpha, is extremely effective at taking your content and turning it into highly positioned grant material. However, you need a starting place. You need to have an aims page. You need to have a thesis of how and why your grant is going to win. This is not today able to be created by the technology alone. You need to have background material. And with that thesis, the productivity and the speed with which you are able to create excellent content goes faster and is much more straightforward, is indeed streamlined, but it doesn't do it by itself. And I think once you have the right story in your headspace, or ideally written down maybe in bullet points, the tech will absolutely help you help you author the right best story. What it is not good at is the end state. And we are actually working on this, but today, the LLMs and AI models are very good at triangulating on a goal. They're good at goal seeking. Specifically, what wins a grant is not inside a trainable body of work. That has not yet been done in our field. And so today we rely on the absolute experts of our team. And I think we will always rely on the experts of our team because they have great experience, and that experience grows in every grant they write, every cycle we deliver, every time we work with a client. And that prodigious, hundreds and hundreds of years of experience we bring for our clients to know what that end state is. Many of our clients know that as well, and the tool is extremely useful for them. So it's an excellent tool, but it's not a push button that'll just tell you what to write. You need to guide it to tell you what to write. So with that, I'm really pleased to hand it over to Andrea to walk us through a demo of the platform so you can get a handle on that. And as she's doing that, feel free to, if you've got questions along the way, go ahead and ask via the chat. Yeah. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Sam. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm Andrea, and I'm excited to show you guys Alpha by Streamline and what it can do for you. So Alpha is built around two core tools. The one that you can see on the screen right now is Discover. This is where you find your funding opportunities, and then Apply to help you draft, strengthen, and win proposals. So what makes it so powerful is that we're scanning constantly, pulling from 96 different federal and state level sources. So you're not just relying on one or two databases. You can search across the funding landscape. You can filter it down by your types here if you want to do RFIs, NOIs, all of that here. You can do your status of active. You can search by your minimums and maximums of the amount that you are in need of. So let's run a quick search. Let's do cancer therapeutics. And as you can see here, it says 198 results, and then it shows you the ones that are the most likely to be relevant and what you need. You can look at the others as well. I like to select this by active. So whenever you click on one of these opportunities, it's going to surface here your high-level summary of the opportunity, and it's going to give you your eligibility, your requirements, deadlines, all of that is going to show in here. And if something looks promising, you can save it here. You can set up to get notifications if you want notifications. And also in here, you can save your searches. That way, you can have multiple different searches going, and you can get notifications daily, weekly, or monthly. If there's any updates, any new opportunities that come up, it will all, they can send you notifications. And if you set it to daily, it's not going to send you a notification every single day, only if there is actually something relevant and new to share with you. And then inside of the opportunity, we also have a chat opportunity. So we're going to ask it a question so I can show you guys how this works. So the question I'm going with is, would a collaboration between a university lab and a biotech startup meet the eligibility requirements here? You can ask it anything about it to find out if this is a good opportunity for you to pursue. And it's always going to give you a source citation. So, you know, it's not hallucinating anything. It can show you exactly where it pulled the data from. And it says, yes, a collaboration between, it says that it's a good idea to move forward with that. It's only going to search within that single opportunities document. So the answer is always going to be grounded and contextual. And now let's look at what happens once you have found the right opportunity. So for our demonstrations, we use the made-up town of Pawnee, Indiana from Parks and Rec, if you've seen the show. We have all of this information on the applicant in the town, and you don't need this much information to be successful. So Streamline is going to, Alpha is going to create a secure workspace where you load your past proposals and reference docs, anything that you've done to build a foundation. And nothing that you upload trains our models. It's locked to you and anyone that you give access. And the AI helps to merge your past work with new requirements, making the draft stronger and tailored without having to start from scratch. So this is an example that I want to show you guys. You're going to see here a 58-page notice of funding opportunity from the Department of Transportation. You've probably seen something like this before, you know, page after page of dense text, the kind that makes your eyes glaze and your head start to ache. So Alpha is designed to take all of that unstructured content that is in this and turn it into something useful, keeping track of all the documents to make a project management system out of it. You can see here that it pulled, you know, your timeline, your key details, proposal structure, and let's see here. All right, let's move into the overview. So the overview is going to give you more of a detailed picture of the grant. And then, you know, from here we move into eligibility. So this is one of the first AI native features of the platform. It looks at who you are as an applicant and what you've done in the past, then it compares it to the requirements of the solicitation. So if something is unclear, it's going to flag it here as a potential risk. Most of the time, that just means that the system doesn't have enough information yet. So you can just quickly review, you know, and move forward if you see that it looks like you are a potential candidate for this. And we'll move into the proposal strategy. So it's going to recommend a proposal strategy for you, and it does this by analyzing past winners, current agency priorities, and even changes in administration. The tool suggests how to frame your project so that it aligns with the program's objectives and the funder's mission. And if you're competing for bids, we have this tool here that's very useful, our competitive matrix. This is going to show you who's won similar awards in other states and how many awards were made and how you stack up. That way you can decide if it's worth your time to pursue. The last step before drafting, let's see. This is our compliance matrix. You can think of this as like a structured checklist. It's going to have every requirement in the solicitation instead of manually tracking 30 pages of must include items. Everything is laid out clearly so that nothing slips through the cracks. All right, and then once the foundation is set, we get to go to the fun part, and that is actually drafting the proposal. So Streamline is going to create outlines for each deliverable so that you're never starting from a blank page. So we're going to look at the project description as an example here, and I'm going to clear this out so you guys can see how it works in action. So we're going to click Create Outline. So the system is going to scan the review criteria. It's going to scan through the solicitation requirements and any formatting rules. And from that, it's going to generate a structured outline with prompts, essentially telling you here's what you should include in this section. and you do have full control. So if you have experience with writing grants and there's specific orders that you like things in, you can reorder it, you can delete sections, you can add whatever you see fit. This is actually a live web-based document. So you can also collaborate with other team members. You're able to tag other team members if, let's say, there's a specific section that you want somebody else to work on and help you with, or they want you to review what they've written, then they can tag you. Right, and then we're going to click Get Started here. All right. And now, of course, your past work isn't always going to be a perfect match for your future plans. This isn't mind reading. You're going to have to guide it. So we're going to hover over this here and click Answer. And this is going to pull from all the past work that you uploaded in the documents before to kind of give you a starting foundation for these prompts. And once this loads here, it's going to have like a chat box at the bottom where you can say, if you want it to make it shorter because of length requirements, or if you want to pull more contextual details from peer-reviewed studies that are web-based literature, you can do that. You can pull from specific websites. You can edit this however you want to. And the results is that, every new section is going to be faster, easier, and more cohesive. Instead of reinventing the wheel, you're building a consistent, fundable story because it's learning what you're trying to guide it towards with every little section that you do, making each section you move on to a little bit easier. And that is Alpha by Streamline.
Excellent, Andrea. Thank you. And if there's any interest in doing demos, feel free to reach out to us directly. You can email us at funding@grantengine.com. That will get you to our central line. And we'll send out a link as well after the webinar of all of these pages. So you can hyperlink from there as well. So from there, thanks again, Andrea. Really nice work. We're going to touch on a couple of slides around strategy. Can you see that screen? Looks like, yeah, cool. So we're going to touch on a couple of strategy slides at the company level. And this one really speaks to 6 different strategies that are durable in nature that you can deploy to get millions and millions of dollars. Each of our clients have used one or more of these as we go, and they've been incredibly effective over time. And the first one is true to winter. Winter is coming. The snowball effect. You start small, get maybe a local translational grant from your university, maybe get a grant from a larger company, maybe a phase 1 SBIR, and use that money to generate additional momentum, data, product progress, and then go after a phase 2. In the DoD world, you can do a phase 2, then go to TACFI, StratFi. There's a lot of opportunities to go after bigger money later. And that's true at NIH, just like it's true at the DoD, just like it's true at an ARPA-E. So that staying with it is a key takeaway. The next one is having key collaborators and strategic partners that help augment your proposal. That good housekeeping seal of approval will carry forward as an endorsement for the review panels, because that shows strength in numbers. And typically those collaborations are relatively easy to get. They don't cost a lot of money, and they can really add depth and power to your submission. And allowable and appropriate use of grant funding when applied ethically is to always be one step ahead of using money you have today to generate data for your next set of grants. That obviously has to be in line with the aims of your product and scope of what you've got an award for, but using your money today to generate future grant submissions that are competitive is a key strategy in this always one step ahead program. And that can stave off this gap in funding that can exist. Many technologies are platform in nature, and the strategy really to deploy there is to go deep on an individual product and continue to go specific, understand the customer, understand the current state of the art, and position your differentiated product to win at that product level, not at the platform level. And that works very well at the NIH. The DoD likes that as well. NSF does support platforms, generally speaking, but they are generally also less money. So the secret to building a platform company is to go deep on one product, get funding for that, continue that life cycle of funding for that product roadmap, and then go after a next product off of that same platform and go deep and continue the life cycle of that product, and then a third, and then a fourth, and on down the list by virtue of the platform capability. But it starts with going deep, not wide. If you have equity or you plan on getting equity, getting grant funding for something you were going to spend equity on frees up that cash to extend your runway, or it can add a new asset to your total portfolio that reduces risks and adds value to your company. For products, the virtuous circle is for products that have an R&D timeline from start to launch of the product, of call it roughly less than three years or less. And funding agencies love a winner. So if you have gotten money, use that to develop your product, launch that product, gotten traction in the marketplace, go again, because you are realizing the real potential of the point of the entire funding programs, which is to develop R&D, drive job creation, and improve economic growth for the country and bring innovation to the marketplace. And so by doing it once, you improve the likelihood of getting a second round of funding. And that is a virtuous circle that keeps on giving. I've done this at a company where I was the founding CEO out of UNC Chapel Hill in an epigenetics tools company. We got a phase 1 SBIR that scored a 35 from National Institute of General Medicine. That started $7.5 million in the first 2 years of the company. And to date, that company is the 5th highest SBIR awardee in the history of the NIH SBIR program, because they have a short R&D, because they've gotten lots of money, but moreover, because they've gotten product in market. So that works, and we've seen it work. So that's really what we wanted to share. I'll do a couple of quick slides on Grant Engine. We have a model and approach of find, win, manage. If you've got any questions, throw them in the chat. That find, win, manage is obviously self-explanatory. We do have a whole division of GE accounting and compliance team that post-award helps make that be successful. And within the win portion of that find, win, manage, we really have a range of offerings from hourly, which is not on the page, to full flagship that really covers any budget that you might have. This alpha tool is less than a cup of coffee every day at Starbucks, and includes a very nominal success fee. Our flagship is more expensive, but also very much below our cost to serve on any cash that we charge you up front. Our business model is that we only make a profit as a company when you get an award. So that in that way, we are very aligned. In this flagship offering, we write the grant. And in the middle section, you write the grant. You can opt in to use alpha or not, and also add our lead writer expertise in grantsmanship, and we add our external reviewers as well. And there's a couple of flavors of that depending on what you want to do. Dan, let's go ahead and throw that third poll up, please, and thank you. If you want to get started, we have a pretty reliable approach and a very deep and strong team of individuals that are subject matter experts that are able to review your information. So we ask for that information via a product development funding survey under an NDA. And if you click on that link, you can do that. And then we spend about an hour to 3 hours preparing, and then we spend an hour on a call with you to discuss the competitiveness of your project, readiness to move forward, and how we might work well together. That, of course, is free and complimentary and really provides you, if it's not a go right now, it's here's what we think is needed, so you don't waste your time and money pursuing something prematurely or without the right framing and competitiveness. So that is how we would get started to work together. And that's really what we wanted to share today. I appreciate everyone submitting the poll results, and I think we'll put a bow on today. If there's any questions, please fire away on the chat or or just go off mute. But if there's no questions, Dean, is there anything else you wanted to wrap with? Or Brian, you wanted to touch on anything?
No, thanks again, Sam. I think that was very insightful, and I'm sure things will shift as the political landscape shift over the next couple of days, even. So looking forward to the next iteration when we can get more of our life sciences programs engaged.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent. Great.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Dan, let's just keep the meeting live. We'll roll out folks that are not on the core team. So let's just sit tight. Dan, if you could stop the recording, that would be great.